We're about to blast. I'm gonna start with smallest parts first. So I'll take one of these screws. And we'll see what we can see. So I started with aluminum oxide, which is basically sanding the parts. And the reason why I did that was because I wanted to start bead blasting over the same surface all around every part. So basically, that's the reason why I started with this. And then later I'm going to go to bead blasting. Found the sear pin. So we're going to continue. I thought I lost it down into the collection bin of the cabinet, but I actually just left it in the box. So that was an easy find, but for a second there it was a little bit worrisome. The reason why I'm switching between speeds is so that you can actually see the finish of the parts. I just want to do the top part, obviously not touching the hooks. There's our hammer, looking good. Okay, take a look. That looks good. Take note of how matte these parts get when they're blasted with aluminum oxide. That looks pretty good. The reason I'm saying that is because, like I said before, I am trying to get the parts to be completely uniform in surface finish. So I'm blasting them first with that aluminum oxide, and it makes them look very matte and kind of rough, as in more rough than bead blasting. I'm also doing this at higher pressure. So it's at about 90 psi right now. And you'll be able to see how the part becomes matte and very uniform. So you stop seeing those little scratch marks from sandpaper. And this is where you'll see the process repeat, and that's because the media has just been changed. It's now glass bead as opposed to aluminum oxide sand. And you should be able to notice that the parts are becoming a little bit more bright and shinier. So they're still kind of matte. They're not satin, or they're not polished, obviously. They're being peened by the glass beads. So the surface is smoothing out, and as a result, the parts are becoming shinier, which is what I intended for the finish to be. But like I said before, It was easier to blast them first with aluminum oxide, make sure that the surface is all the same. And I might be just overthinking this. Somebody with more experience could chime in and say, you absolutely did not have to do this, that you could just go to glass bead and just bead blast them, all the parts. So I'll wait for your comments and feedback. Uh, I'm continuing to learn, basically. So I'll appreciate any feedback. I should also mention that when I was bead blasting, I reduced the pressure to about 70, maybe 65 to 70 psi, and that creates I guess, a softer effect, peening effect. So I'm blowing the parts off so I don't actually take media home with me and spread it around, basically. All right, now we're going to polish the feed ramp after blasting. One of the most important things here is to not change the ramp angle, and actually not to bring the ramp more forward in the frame. And the reason why is because by spec we're supposed to have a space between the top edge of this ramp and the bottom edge of the barrel of 1/32 of an inch. The reason why that space is important is so that you don't have any issues with feeding when the barrel, for example, if the barrel is not completely lowered, or even if it is, you don't want the ramp, you don't want the barrel to overhang the ramp at all, and you also don't want its bottom edge to get in front of the round that's being fed. So now we'll see how much space we have between the barrel and the ramp, and we can take in the barrel a little bit. What I meant by that is that I will need to bring the barrel ramp more forward so that there is more space between the frame ramp and the barrel ramp. Now we're going to make sure that the throat of the barrel is smooth. Basically, it's rounding that edge between the barrel ramp and the chamber. By the way, I've decided to try chalice bushings, grip screw bushings. As you can see, they are not slotted on top. Instead, it's a hexagon head. So you use a socket wrench, essentially, for them. And that prevents you from damaging the top of the bushing with your screwdriver or even that special tool. I also got a couple of their, well, 4 obviously, of their grip screw bushing O-rings that I'm putting on, and they're really nice. Because of the O-rings, these the grips will be constantly under pressure, so these screws are not likely to come out from just vibration. Well, here it is. So as you can see, it turned out pretty good. I'm very happy with it so far. The only thing left is to wait for the screw to come in, and then I'll take them out and Loctite them in properly. So here's the fit. Beaver tail fit is pretty good. Here's how the magazine well is blended. Let's zoom you in a little bit. Start showing you a little more detail. So here's what that looks like. Also, not bad. The rear of the frame and mainspring housing. Here's the beaver tail like I said, a little looser than I had hoped. Plus, when I sandblasted the pieces separately, so obviously the edges are gone. So, you can see that. It's not bad at all, I think. So, there's that fit. This is how it's fitted on top. Here's that fit. You guys can take a look right there. Here's a look at the thumb safety that I reshaped a little bit. Slide stop that I reshaped a little bit. Dehorning. Hopefully you can see that. Everything is nice and smooth. Bob knows. You can see what that looks like. I decided not to touch anything on the muzzle yet, so I can always do it later. The chamfer on the slide. I can show you what it'll look like with the red dot on it. That's how it's going to look eventually. So, huge difference, obviously. But yeah, that's how it's going to look.